There are betrayals that sting, betrayals that wound, and then there are betrayals that tear at the very fabric of your soul. The kind that leave you staring at the ceiling at night, wondering if anything you once believed was ever real. A friend's treachery is painful, a stranger's deceit is frustrating. But a family's betrayal? That is something else entirely. It is not a single blade, it is 1,000. It is the sinking realization that the people who were meant to protect you, to know you, to love you unconditionally, have become architects of your suffering. You see, we are raised to believe that family is a sanctuary, that no matter how storm-tossed our lives may be, we can always return to the shore of those who share our blood. We are told that these ties are sacred, unbreakable, immutable, and so we lean into them. We trust them blindly, because surely, our own flesh and blood would not turn against us. But sometimes they do. And when they do, it does not merely shake us, it reshapes us. At first there is the disbelief. The mind scrambles, searching for any explanation that might make the betrayal less real, less monstrous. Surely it was a misunderstanding. Surely they did not mean it. Surely if we explain ourselves, if we beg, if we forgive, things will be as they were. But that is the cruelest part of betrayal. There is no going back. There is no unseeing, unhearing, unfeeling. There is only before and after. So what then? What does one do when the hands that once lifted you up are the same hands that have pushed you into the abyss? Some choose to drown in it, to sink into bitterness, into resentment, to let the betrayal become the script of their lives. But I ask you, must we let those who have wounded us have the final word? Must their cruelty dictate the rest of our story? No, 1,000 times no. There is another way. Pain is a terrible teacher, but it is a teacher nonetheless. It strips us down, forces us to see the world not as we wish it to be, but as it truly is. And if we let it, pain can transform us, not into something weaker, but into something wiser. Not into something broken, but into something unshakable. For those who betray us reveal much, not only about themselves, but about us. They show us what we will and will not accept. They show us the depth of our endurance. And most importantly, they show us that while blood may tie us to people, it is not blood alone that makes a family. Family is not merely those with whom we share ancestry, it is those with whom we share loyalty, love, and truth. It is those who stand with us, not only in fair weather, but in storms. So if your family has betrayed you, know this: the betrayal is not your identity. It is not the end of your story. The greatest revenge is not hatred. The greatest revenge is not despair. The greatest revenge is becoming something greater than they ever imagined you could be. There is still life beyond betrayal. There is still love beyond broken trust. And in time, you will find a new kind of family, not born of blood, but of choice. And that family will not betray you. There are wounds that heal with time, and there are wounds that time cannot touch. A stranger's cruelty, a friend's abandonment. These are painful, but they are injuries we expect, however reluctantly, from the outside world. We know that enemies may strike, that acquaintances may turn cold, that even friendships may crumble under the weight of selfishness. But betrayal from family is different. It does not simply wound, it shatters. It takes something essential, something foundational, and crushes it beneath the weight of its own contradiction. It defies the very order of the world as we have come to understand it. Because family is supposed to be safe, family is supposed to be the first refuge, the one place where love does not need to be earned, where loyalty is not a negotiation. From the moment we take our first breath, we are taught to believe that family is sacred. The arms that cradle us as children, the voices that soothe us in the night, the laughter that fills our earliest memories, these become the bricks and mortar of our very identity. It is through them that we learn trust, that we first understand the meaning of love. So when those very people, the ones who should have stood by us unshaken, turn against us, it does more than break our hearts. It leaves us questioning whether we were ever truly loved at all. The pain of that realization is unlike any other. It is not simply sadness, it is a fundamental unraveling. It is the sudden, sickening thought that perhaps everything you believed, everything you held dear, was nothing more than an illusion. And worse still, you wonder if it was your fault. If you had been better, stronger, more obedient, more forgiving, would they still have turned away? Would they still have left you to bleed? That is the cruelty of betrayal. It does not strike once, clean and sharp like a blade. No, it lingers, it echoes. It plays again and again in the mind, like a song stuck on repeat, demanding answers that may never come. It is the silence after the storm, the cold realization that the people you once ran to for shelter were, in fact, the ones who tore down the walls. And yet, the deepest wound does not come merely from their actions. It comes from within. It comes from the battle that rages inside you long after they are gone. Because when family betrays you, you do not simply lose them. You lose the version of yourself that once believed in them. You lose the innocence that trusted so freely, the heart that loved without question. You begin to see the world through different eyes, and not always for the better. You start to doubt the kindness of others, even those who mean you no harm. You start to build walls where once there were doors. You learn to anticipate disappointment, to brace yourself for pain before it ever arrives. And in that way, betrayal becomes more than a single moment. It becomes a slow erosion of the self. But here is the hardest truth of all. The wound that festers within us is not merely the product of their betrayal. It is the weight we continue to carry long after they are gone. It is the bitterness we nurse, the questions we refuse to release, the resentment that coils itself around our hearts like a living thing. And perhaps, worst of all, it is the fear that we are now alone, that without them we are untethered, adrift, unworthy of the love we once believed was ours by right. But is that the truth? Betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. It is not proof that you are unlovable or that you are doomed to be alone. The deepest wound comes from within, because it is within that we must decide what to do with our pain. Will we let it consume us? Will we let it define us? Or will we rise, not in spite of it, but because of it? They have already taken enough. Do not let them take the rest. We are raised on stories of unbreakable bonds, tales of loyalty that withstand the weight of time, of love that never falters, of family that remains steadfast no matter the storm. These are the stories whispered to us in childhood, the beliefs woven into our understanding of the world. They tell us that family is not just important, it is everything. It is the one truth we can count on, the one foundation that will never shift beneath our feet. And so we grow up believing in the illusion of permanence. We believe that blood is thicker than betrayal, that love is stronger than selfishness. We convince ourselves that the people who share our name, our history, and our memories could never truly hurt us. Not in the way that strangers might, not in the way that cuts so deep it alters the very fabric of who we are, because surely, if the world turns against us, our family will stand as our shield. But then, one day, the illusion shatters. It does not always happen suddenly. Sometimes it is a slow unraveling, a series of small betrayals that we brush aside, excusing them in the name of love. A broken promise here, a selfish choice there. We tell ourselves that it is nothing, that they did not mean it, that family is allowed to falter, but will always find its way back, until one day the betrayal is too large to ignore. One day the knife is too deep to pull out on our own. And it is then that we realize the cruelest truth. Unbreakable bonds exist only in stories. Love does not always triumph. Family does not always choose you. The people you have held closest, the ones you have trusted most, are not immune to selfishness, to greed, to indifference. They are not bound by some invisible force that will always call them back to you. They, too, can turn away. They, too, can decide that their needs, their desires, their ambitions are worth more than their loyalty to you. And when that moment comes, it does more than wound. It leaves you stranded in a world you no longer recognize. Because if the people who were meant to stand by you have walked away, then what is left? If the ties that were supposed to be eternal can be severed so easily, then what can you truly trust? The weight of that realization is enough to break even the strongest among us. It makes us question not only the people who have betrayed us, but also ourselves. Were we blind? Were we foolish to believe? Did we expect too much? Ask for too much? Or was it all a lie from the start? A carefully crafted illusion that we clung to because the alternative was too terrifying to face. But here is the thing about illusions. They do not simply vanish. They must be stripped away, torn down piece by piece until only the truth remains. And though the truth is painful, though it feels like standing in the wreckage of a home that will never be whole again, it is also necessary. Because when the illusion is gone, you see, not all bonds are unbreakable, but that does not mean love is meaningless. That does not mean trust is impossible. What it means is that the people who stay, the ones who choose you again and again, not out of obligation, but out of love, those are the bonds that matter. Those are the ties worth holding on to. It is a bitter lesson, but a powerful one. Family is not defined by blood. It is defined by those who choose to stand beside you, not because they have to, but because they want to. And sometimes that is not the people you expected. Sometimes the ones who share your name are not the ones who will walk through fire for you. But there are people who will. And when you find them, when you build those bonds, not out of illusion but out of truth, you will realize that the breaking of one thing does not mean the end of all things. It simply means you now see clearly. And with that clarity, you can begin again. Pain is a fire that consumes, a force that strips away comfort, certainty, and all that once felt unshakable. It does not ask for permission, it arrives like an uninvited guest, taking its place at your table, in your thoughts, in the quietest corners of your soul. And betrayal, above all else, is a special kind of fire. It does not merely hurt, it transforms. It takes what was familiar and turns it into something unrecognizable. It forces you to see, to feel, to endure things you never wished to face. And yet, in that very fire, there is something else, something beyond the suffering, beyond the breaking. Because fire does not only destroy, fire refines. There is an ancient process by which gold is purified. It is placed into the hottest of flames, melted down until all its impurities rise to the surface, where they can be removed. What remains is something stronger, something purer than before. And though it may not seem like it now, though it may feel as if the fire is only meant to consume you, the truth is this: pain is the furnace in which the soul is made new. In moments of betrayal, it is tempting to believe that suffering is senseless, that it serves no purpose beyond cruelty. You may ask, why me? Why this? Why must I be the one to bear this weight? These questions are natural. They echo in the mind like a drumbeat, demanding answers that may never come. But if you sit with them long enough, if you let yourself feel the depth of the fire without running from it, you will begin to understand something powerful. Pain is not the end of you. It is the remaking of you. Because who you were before the fire is not who you will be after. Before the fire you believed in illusions. You trusted without question, loved without boundaries, gave without thinking of the cost. There was innocence in that, and innocence is a beautiful thing. But it is not the whole of who you are. And when pain comes, when betrayal leaves you standing in the wreckage of what you once knew, you are given a choice. You can curse the fire, or you can walk through it. You can let it burn away the parts of you that no longer serve you. The naivety, the blind trust, the need for approval from those who have proven they do not deserve it. And what remains will be something fierce, something unshakable. Pain teaches in ways that comfort never could. It teaches you who is truly by your side. It reveals the strength you did not know you had. It shows you that you are capable of surviving things you never imagined you could endure. And in that survival, you are changed. You are no longer the person who needed the approval of those who turned their backs on you. You are no longer the one who bends and breaks for the sake of peace that was never real. You stand taller, speak clearer, walk with a weight of wisdom that only those who have known suffering can carry. This is the gift of pain, though it does not feel like a gift when you are in its grasp. It strips away everything that was false. It leaves behind only truth. The truth of who you are, the truth of who truly loves you, the truth of what you are capable of becoming. And though you may not see it now, though you may feel only the flames, know this: when the fire has burned away all that was never meant for you, when the pain has done its work, you will emerge stronger, not in spite of the fire, but because of it. When betrayal comes, when the ones who are meant to protect you become the very source of your pain, it is easy to believe that the world has left you with no choice. The weight of heartbreak is so heavy, the sting of disappointment so sharp, that it seems there is nothing to do but sit with it, to let it settle into your bones, to allow bitterness to take root. And why shouldn't it? Why shouldn't you be angry? Why shouldn't you hold on to the hurt, turn it over in your hands, examine every wound they have inflicted, until it becomes a part of you? No one would blame you if you did. Pain demands to be felt. It demands to be acknowledged, to be mourned, to be carried for a time. But there is a moment, silent, unremarkable, yet life-defining, when you realize that pain is no longer just something you are experiencing, it is something you are becoming. That what was once a wound is now a weight you have chosen to bear, and the longer you carry it, the heavier it becomes. It is in that moment that you must decide, will you rot in this darkness, or will you rise from it? Because, make no mistake, suffering left unchecked is a poison. At first, it disguises itself as protection, an armor to shield you from further harm. It whispers that if you harden yourself, if you trust no one, if you expect nothing, then no one will ever have the power to hurt you again. It convinces you that shutting yourself away, turning cold and unyielding, is the only way to survive, and maybe for a while it works. Maybe the walls you build keep the pain at bay. Maybe isolation feels safer than risking another betrayal. But there is a cost, because when you close yourself off from pain, you also close yourself off from healing. When you choose to carry resentment, it does not weigh down the ones who hurt you, it weighs down you. When you let anger become the lens through which you see the world, you do not punish those who betrayed you, and they have already taken enough. Rising is not about forgetting. It is not about pretending that the betrayal never happened, that the hurt was not real. It is about refusing to let it define you. It is about taking all that was meant to break you and using it to build something new. It is about standing in the wreckage and deciding that you will not remain there, that you will gather the pieces, forge something stronger, something truer, something that is yours alone. There is power in pain, but only if you claim it. Only if you look at everything that has been done to you, every scar left behind, and declare that it will not be the end of your story. That you will not be reduced to the role of the betrayed, the wounded, the broken. That you will rise, not because it is easy. And when you rise, something extraordinary happens. The past loses its hold. The betrayal no longer defines your future. The ones who hurt you no longer dictate your story. You are no longer living in reaction to what was done to you. You are living in pursuit of what you can become. This is the choice that lies before you. You can let the past bury you. Let the pain fester until it robs you of everything bright and good, or you can rise. You can take the lessons, take the scars, take every ounce of strength you never knew you had, and build something greater. Not in spite of what you endured, but because of it. Redemption is a word often spoken in hushed tones, as if it belongs only to those who have done great wrongs, as if it is something to be begged for, something granted only by the mercy of others. But true redemption, the kind that changes a life, is not given. It is taken. It is claimed. It is fought for in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the battles that rage within the mind, in the choices made not to erase the past, but to rise above it. Because the past does not define you. The mistakes, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the choices you regret, these are not the sum of who you are. They are pieces of the story, yes, but they are not the final chapter. Too many people believe that what has been broken cannot be rebuilt, that once they have fallen, there is no path back to the light. But that is a lie, a comforting lie for those who would rather remain where they are than face the struggle of change, but a lie nonetheless. Redemption is not about pretending the past did not happen. It is about refusing to be chained to it. It is about looking at the person you once were, the things you once did, the ways you once let yourself down, and deciding, truly deciding, that you will not remain that person, that you will not let the pain define you, that you will not be reduced to your worst moments, that you will not let guilt and regret become the walls of your prison. But to claim redemption, you must first step onto the path of self-discovery, because change is not about simply doing better. It is about becoming better. It is about understanding yourself, not as you were told to be, not as you once believed yourself to be, but as you truly are. It is about asking the difficult questions. Who am I beneath the wounds? Who am I when no one is watching? Who do I want to be? Not for them, not for validation, but for myself. Who do I want to be? Not for validation, but for myself. Self-discovery is not a gentle journey. It is not found in comfort, nor in the easy path. It is forged in solitude, in struggle, in moments where doubt creeps in and the old voices call you back to who you once were. But there is power in walking this road. There is power in knowing that you are more than the sum of your pain, more than the sum of your past. Because the world will try to define you. It will try to tell you who you are, based on your worst moments, based on your greatest heartbreaks. It will tell you that you are nothing more than the echoes of what has been done to you. But you are not what happened to you. You are not the person you were when you were lost. You are not the mistakes, nor the betrayals, nor the heartbreaks. You are what you choose to become. And that choice, that is redemption. Not the erasure of the past, not the denial of pain, but the decision to rise beyond it, the decision to seek truth, to seek self, to seek a life that is not bound by old wounds, but empowered by them, the decision to take all that was meant to break you and use it as the foundation for something greater. Redemption is not granted by others. It is claimed by those who dare to seek it, and the journey of self-discovery is the map that will lead you there.